sometimes you're best to wait till things start leafing out. But always remember that some plants, like sometimes butterfly bushes or the hibiscus family, they're called Rose of Sharon, they're sometimes not in a rush to leaf out, and they'll wait until right into May. So do that scratch test where you scratch the bark a little bit to see if it's green and moist underneath, and if it is, just wait it out. They might not want to leaf out for another month yet, so keep your eyes peeled on that. All right, now my plant of the week this week is the Magnolia group, which is a huge group, and magnolias are fabulous in almost every climate, and there's just so many beauties. And the one thing is that most of the magnolias are really alkaline-loving plants, so they love to grow in soils that are high pH. And here in the Okanagan, our soils are naturally high pH, so one of these things you can do is enjoy magnolias throughout the Okanagan, and in coastal regions, you can also enjoy magnolias. There's some slightly different varieties, but the beauties, of course, like the southern magnolia, which, Don, you have one in your yard. What a gorgeous plant, and mostly a coastal plant, and they just thrive in the coastal regions. So there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Ken, that's right. I just talking about my Magnolia grandiflora, which is the southern magnolia.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Masters is on right now. And I always think of the Magnolia Lane, and once in a while you see a brown magnolia leaf flying across the fairways and whatnot.
Yeah.
It just reminds me, because they do drop some brown leaves. That's one thing they do. But anyway, here's a plant that, like you say, is not really attuned to the Okanagan and the cold climate, the colder climate, and yet it's surviving quite nicely. It's that Edith Bogue variety. Like, there's lots of varieties. Edith Bogue is the hardy one,
right?
And mine is doing fine. I mean, it's it got touched a little bit this winter.
Yep.
But boy, oh boy, one of the things I've got on my list to talk about today is what we've lost in the gardens.
Yeah.
My Calicarpus toast.
Really?
It's dead as a doornail.
Calicarpus. So is that because of just from the cold, or did you just plant it last year?
No, it's been in there 5 years.
Oh, geez.
And it's that midwinter cold freeze snap that we had, after that warm stretch, So, lots of things are coming to fruition. My Japanese maple is dead. But it's not that. That'll be verticillium, I'm sure. Let's not talk about that dead stuff right now. We want to welcome our Penticton listeners. We don't want to welcome Penticton listeners to a garden show that's talking about dead plants. We want live plants here. But this Royal Horticultural Society's Award of Garden Merit is quite a deal. It's a mark of quality awarded since 1922 to garden plants, including trees, vegetables, and decorative plants, by the Royal Horticultural Society, the RHS. Awards are made annually after plant trials intended to judge the plant's performance under UK growing conditions. Now, of course, UK growing conditions are very similar to our Victoria growing conditions, so that's right.
Yeah,
kind of
somewhere
cool.
in that, or at least, ranging there to probably into Abbotsford sort of area.
Yeah, for sure.
Range, yeah.
Trials may last for 1 or 2 years, depending on the type of plant being analyzed, and may be performed at the Royal Horticultural Society Garden in Wisley and other gardens, or after observation of plants in specialist collections. Trial reports are made available as booklets and on the website. I was at Wisley and Salvail. I was thinking of you when we were at Salvail Gardens in England. But, Wisley, fabulous show garden there. Anyway, there we have it. That's my tip and plant, and that plant is special. And I'm going to, I'll send a picture to Ken, and you can look up on his website, Grower Coach website for that.
I'll see. I might actually come over and do a video on it. It might be better so that people can get a real idea of the 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
Is it still blooming?
It's still blooming. It's in full bloom right now.
Oh,
but here's the deal, Ken.
Yep.
Right after the garden show, Donna and I are heading out to Vancouver. Our granddaughter has a competition down there in her gymnastics, and we're going down to New Westminster. We're going to go down and stay a couple of nights there. So. But you're sure welcome. You know where the place is. You know where the house is. You can just walk into my yard. Cool. Nobody's going to kick you out of my yard. I know that.
What's the botanical name on that one again?
The botanical name is the Pentophilus, Pentaphyllus. it means with 5 lobes. Oh, that'll be the species. Just a minute here.
Yeah, it's cardamine.
Cardamine. Cardamine. Cardamine pentaphylla.
Mm-hmm.
And the common name is showy toothwort.
Yeah,
showy
toothwort. It's got teeth on its leaves.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Fantastic. Some of the common names actually describe the plant, but the botanical names are much better to use to describe your plant. So there it is. It's a native to Western and Central Europe, Slovenia, and Croatia.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a very cool plant. Mm-hmm. It's got a relatively, I'd say, large, but they're like a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch, bright pink blooms. Yeah. They're singles, and just very lovely looking flower. Mm-hmm. And then the leaves are very much palmate, so they have these, like 5 fingers on each leaf that are very well toothed, so it has the sort of, that toothed edge around the perimeter. And just a lovely, it's like a herbaceous perennial, though. It dies right to the ground in the wintertime.
That's right.
And shoots up each year.
It's quite pretty. And I've got it right in shade. Now, I'm not sure whether it tolerates a sunnier spot, but mine's in quite a shaded spot.
Yeah, it seems to be happy there.
Yeah, it was quite happy. It is. And if you're looking for it, if you're going to go upstairs onto our deck, it's on the left-hand side, just at the base there, beside my lovely tree peony that's coming out into flower, or not into flower, but it survived the winter nicely.
Yeah.
They're pretty hardy, aren't they?
Yeah, mine, I have 2 fairly large tree peonies in an exposed location. So both of them suffered some dead wood this winter, but not extensively, just a couple pieces, which is the first time ever they've been there I'm not sure when they were planted, but probably around 2000. That's how old they are. So I didn't even buy the place until 2007. So then, that's... and I have so many videos on those beauties. They're so lovely when they bloom. And one is a huge double dark, it's almost purple color, double purple. And then the other one is the radiant, it's called, and it's pink with the white fringe on the edge, and it's a semi-double or pretty close to being double. Beautiful, beautiful plants, and they're all doing good, except that I'm seeing these pieces of dead wood in them, which is the first time, and these are pieces 2 to 3 feet long that have died out.
Mine are really. I'll have to call Lois Bennett and see how hers are coming out this year, just to see, because she's got a massive of tree peonies. Oh, yeah. My tree peony is right down close to the house, and I think it's protected, so it's coming out full. So anyway, we're going to take a short break, and that's what we do at the 1/4 of the hour. And we do invite your calls. And if you're calling from the Kelowna area, it's 250-862-2525. If you're calling from Victoria or Penticton, it's 1-888-780-4273. We will be back shortly with The Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you on a gorgeous spring Saturday morning here, and we welcome Sharon from Victoria. Sharon, nice to hear from you.
Oh, good morning, Don and Ken.
Good morning.
It's 6.4 degrees in Sandwich, but I can't believe this. Beautiful, sunny, but there's frost on the roof.
Well, and that's what happens, of course, when the clouds disappear. The frost is more apt to come down. But that's surprising, actually, because it was 3 degrees this morning when I got up at 6 o'clock in Kelowna.
Oh, wow.
But then that's my backyard. Then I look at the Weather Canada weather station, and it says it's only 1 degree when I come. But in my backyard, we're fairly close to the lake, Okanagan Lake.
It should be warmer.
And it does have an influence. There's no question about that.
Okay, great. I won't keep you.
Okay.
I love the star magnolia. I know there's so many different kinds, okay? I was wondering, it's a small lot house, but it's an older home. And I wanted a small one that I can plant in the border that's right for our area and easy care and long blooming and tolerant to climate change nowadays. Is there anything you can recommend? Either it could be dwarf, small, or miniature.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they're all the same, small.
is that a magnolia
Star
you're talking
magnolia.
about?
Like
Star
it's not,
magnolia.
the star magnolia. I don't know
Yeah.
if I got the right name. They're all in bloom around my
Stellata.
neighborhood right now.
Yeah, they're not super long blooming because they'll be done in another week or two.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, you get about 3 weeks. I've got one as well. And so star magnolias, mine is about 15 feet high. I know
Ooh,
Dan
that's high.
has one that's quite large.
But I think,
they're
again, I
different
believe there
varieties.
might be some varieties that are a little smaller. Those are the older type varieties that we have
that
there.
grow to full size.
You know, I believe that, Sharon, you might have to do a little research locally there
Yes.
and go to a garden center and say, look, I'm looking for star magnolia, but I don't want the standard regular magnolia stellata that goes and that grows, like Ken says, up to 20 feet.
Yes.
Beautiful,
I mean,
beautiful
if I
small
had to-
tree, but it can grow to 20 feet. There might be a shrub type that doesn't grow as tall.
Oh, shrub.
So that there might be a variety
type,
that doesn't grow as tall, but you'd have to ask the garden centers there and see what they have. I might call around at some point here locally here and see if there's a smaller variety, or look up. Sometimes the proven winners and that.
Oh, yeah, right. You're always good.
Yeah, you just do the research because they all grow to different sizes. Yeah. But remember, there's another group which is they're called Liliiflora varieties, which are they're really ultimately the smaller form of magnolia. Up to about maybe 10 feet or so.
Oh,
and
that's
so
not bad.
they're smaller, but they're typically shades of purple. Like they can be anywhere from pink to purple, more purplish.
Yes.
And they're actually a little longer blooming. But they are, let's see, Liliiflora. So let me just see if I can pick out some names. They often have names like Susan Magnolia is one.
So sorry.
The Lily Magnolia is a standard one. Lily, yeah. And then I was trying to remember all of them.
Yeah.
Rustica rubra rings a bell. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ones, but these are very, very small trees or large shrub, and but slow. I've got one that I planted in 2006, and it is now about 8 feet high.
Well, that's not too bad. That's almost. I can't do the math at this early in the morning.
It's pretty slow at growing, though, eh? So and that one was called Nigra. So it's a very dark purple color.
Okay.
So,
and the other thing, how do they like to be cared for? Are they easy care? Do they need pruning?
No, they don't need any attention at all. You just let them grow. Yeah.
Okay.
Once established, they'll survive just on nature's water, typically. They're fairly drought tolerant, so in the summertime they'll survive. But just remember that anything newly planted, you have to baby it. You have to water it carefully to get it to establish. So the first year, you have to be watching it. And so, like anything, if you put in something new, take care of it, baby it a little extra. And based on your weather, that's happening at the time, these days you never know if it's going to rain or just be hot and dry. If it's hot and dry, you got to be watering about every second day to get them to establish.
And the other question, when's the best time to get it? At the plant store, nursery?
Probably right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'll finish listening to your show, and then I'll head out to the garden center.
Awesome.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Bye.
I mentioned my Calicarpa got hit this year, and I believe it must have been the cold because it's been there for 3 or 4 years and it's been fine, even through last winter's dilemma.
Yeah.
4 species are mostly used in ornamental plantings. American beautyberry, Calicarpa americana, considered hardy in zones 7 to 11. And 3 Asian species, Calicarpa japonica, Calicarpa dichotoma, and Calicarpa bodineri, which are more cold hardy and can be grown in zones 5 to 8. So I'm assuming that's the one we have.
That's usually the one there. Bodinatensis is the one.
Yeah.
It's off. It's a derivative of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We used to get them through Monrovia Nursery, and that was, I think, is a bit of a not quite so hardy strain.
If you're listening, Pam, How did your Calicarpa, your beautyberry, come through the winter? Yeah, I'd like to know. You can give us a call. And I know we were talking about the mason bee season right now.
Yeah.
And Pam gave me an email on that. So we'll talk mason bees. We'll talk all sorts of things. But one thing that we want to mention for the Victoria listeners is the fact that the Abkhazi Gardens are having their get-together and their show, Spring Plant Sale. Saturday, April 27th, and Sunday, April 28th, at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Did you lose a few plants over the winter? We've got your replacements. Come and buy interesting plants, mostly grown at the garden. Our head gardener, Jackie Paulson, will be on hand to answer your gardening questions. Then visit our garden in peak bloom and learn about the history of this exquisite heritage garden created by Prince Nicholas and Princess Peggy Abkhazi. Proceeds of the plant sale, of course, go to the maintenance of the Heritage Garden. We got to go see that garden at some point, Ken.
Yes,
we have to go and see it. So that's for the Victoria folks. Make sure that you take that in, because that's going to be a very exciting thing. And of course, we have our Kelowna Garden Club plant sale coming up as well.
Yes,
that we'll talk about. It's coming up very soon. And I've got the note somewhere here that I should talk about. Okay. I haven't got it right handy, so I'm not going to talk about it. But
maybe somebody will phone in, give us an updated
Linda. Maybe Linda
time.
can give us a call.
Yeah, for sure.
This is. Oh no, that's the Abkhazi one. My notes are all spread all over the place here.
Yep.
I got to get more organized. Anyway, we do welcome our Penticton listeners. It's kind of fun to have another Okanagan city online with us, and which we're very excited about. Penticton and Kelowna are very close in the climate, and they're sometimes Penticton is a little warmer than Kelowna. And as you get down towards Osoyoos and Oliver in the summer, in particular, the temperatures in Penticton get a little bit hotter in the Okanagan than Kelowna does. However, both are very similar in many ways, and we've chatted for many years with Scott Austin. We've been friends with Scott. He's gone to the garden show in Seattle with us a couple of times, and we appreciate that as well. And so, just by chatting with him, we get the feeling that it's very, very equal in our gardening experiences.
Similar,
they have alkaline soils like we have alkaline soils, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly the opposite of Victoria.
And that's exactly the opposite of Victoria.
That's why we accept you no matter what your soil pH.
It doesn't matter what your soil pH is. We will welcome you as Garden Show listeners.
You betcha.
Yeah, you betcha. Okay. Canucks had a little tough time on Thursday.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's the
Vegas,
Arizona,
or was that? I thought it was Vegas.
They beat Vegas, but no, Arizona. Just because they have all superstar players, like they're all like first round draft picks and really good players. Yeah. Super well coached, really great goaltending.
Yeah, the
Ingram from he played in Kamloops. He was like an amazing goaltender, right? He was like, we really hate when Kelowna Rockets would play the Kamloops. We sort of started to hate Ingram after a while because he wouldn't let the goals in, So, and he's still like that. He's a great goalie. So they're pretty lucky to have that team. And now apparently they're moving to another city. They're moving to Utah, I think. So, sounds exciting. But this isn't a hockey show. It's a plant show, so we're going to talk about gardening, even though in our hearts we're really thinking about the game tonight. Edmonton Oilers versus the Canucks is going to be a good one. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to miss that because we're in Vancouver. We're going down for this tournament for Ellie. And our friend Al is going to take us to a lacrosse game at Rogers, Rogers Arena.
Well, there's something different, eh?
A lacrosse game. Now, we used to have lacrosse in the Okanagan. Lots of lacrosse been played here. And over the years, it's sort of waned. We had a lot of cricket here, too.
Oh,
and, of course, if you ever want to go to a game that you have no idea what's going on, you go to a cricket game. Anyway, let's talk about I hate to talk too much about this, but we've only got a minute left in this section or segment. things that I lost. I mean, that Calicarpa, the beautyberry, is gone.
Yeah.
It's toast. It may come up at the base, but I don't think it is. My laurel is dead from last year, and it just this year did it in. It's
it
done.
knocked its socks off.
It's excavator material now.
Right.
The fig, my fig's done.
What?
Yeah, I know, and I do so much protection for that Chicago fig, and I put the heater on this year and everything.
I thought it was good.
No, it's toast. It's done. And possibly a dwarf hosta that we had in the rockery. It doesn't seem to be appearing, and we were going to take that guy. He was in full sun, and he wasn't happy there. We were going to put him where our rhubarb was and take the rhubarb out and put it over in the full
sunnier,
sun.
Sunnier
not in the rockery, but in a sunnier spot.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't think it's coming through. There's other things that are hurting. Some of our miniature roses. Miniature roses usually are just so tough.
Bulletproof.
And yet some of them are rough. They're in rough shape. And, of course, the hybrid tea, my one and only hybrid tea is suffering, but it's coming up nicely at the base, which will be fine. And it's not wild. You got to be careful, when you look at the hybrid teas, especially in the Okanagan. If you haven't been covering them, you could have some trouble. You just glanced at the clock. I think that means we got to take that break.
Yep,
I mean, blah blah blah. Anyway, we're gonna take that short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you. We are here every Saturday morning, and we welcome our Penticton listeners today. This is an opening day for the Penticton listeners. Give us a shout and let us know you're there. But we're going to we got Dan Bruce waiting on line one, but I'm going to take Lisa from the Garden Club first here. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Dawn. How are you?
We're
Good
well
morning.
as heck.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm just sitting here labeling dahlia tubers.
Ooh, nice. That's a fun job.
Oh, exciting, hey?
Yeah.
I'm just calling to remind your listeners or let your listeners know about our plant sale that's on May the 4th at Michigan Gardens.
Right.
Well,
Perfect.
That's exciting. And I was scrambling through my notes about 5 minutes ago, trying to find the note on that. And I do have it somewhere in this menagerie of notes. But Lisa, thank you for the information. And this is something that's been going on for a long time. It's something where the Kelowna Garden Club get together and they gather plants that they have grown themselves, some of the divisions that they have. And also people donate other plants, like I'll bring in some plants as well. Anyway, Lisa, thank you for giving us a call.
Yeah.
And just give us the detail on it.
So, our members are furiously dividing plants right now that are, survivors in our gardens and thrivers in our gardens. So the sale is May the 4th, starting at 9 a.m. at Gushkin Gardens on Cameron Avenue. And it is a cash-only event. And we will have perennials, annuals, shrubs, maybe some small trees. Who knows? We don't know exactly what's going to come in until it walks in the door. So we're really excited.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's always interesting. It's always a surprise to see what comes in, isn't it? It's fun.
I promise there's going to be lots of dahlia tubers because I have plenty to share.
Yeah. The note I have here, which I finally found here, the plants, perennials, annual shrubs, they've been nurtured, grown, and donated by members of the Kelowna Garden Club.
Yeah.
Plants are great, the selection is good, and the prices are exceptional.
They are.
So this is a time to get a good deal on plants. Saturday, May the 4th, starting at 9 a.m. at the Gushkin Heritage Park, 1060 Cameron Avenue in Kelowna.
Yes, that is correct.
Lisa, thank you, dear. We appreciate the call.
Thanks so much, Don.
Okay,
Have a good day.
betcha.
Thanks for calling.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And Dan Bruce is with us. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good.
Good.
Anything
last night?
did anything freeze this winter in the garden? My Calicarpa's dead.
Did anything freeze?
Like over the winter. Like I'm sure.
I just don't have time to list all the stuff that disappeared.
Okay, well then we won't. What have you got on your mind today?
Almost nothing.
Oh, well, that's
there you go.
That's new. Yeah.
But I was looking up some stuff the other day about Captain Vancouver. Somebody asked me a question. I went to find out about it. Anyway, came across our old friend Peter Puget, after whom Puget Sound is named.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really quite surprising how you come across the same people time and time again in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Last week you were talking about Pseudorhipsalis and cactus and that sort of thing. And here Peter Puget shows up again, because after he accompanied Vancouver on his the voyage to the Pacific Northwest, he was sent out to India, where he was in charge of naval stores and organizing naval affairs in India.
Mm.
And he was pretty hot on dealing with corruption and graft in the Navy. Wasn't in favor of it at all.
Oh.
But he was interested in cactus, the Opuntia ficus indica, which is the plant on which the Mexican cochineal insect lives.
Oh, yes, right.
And the cochineal, of course, was important in the British military because it made the red dye that made the red coats.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So they shipped the plant to various places in the world where they could cultivate the cochineal insect to various levels of success. But there's another string to the bow, because it was believed, and it may be true, that the pads of the cactus leaves, if you like, when consumed as nopal, as they are eaten in Mexico, are an effective antidote to scurvy.
Okay. Now, can you dry that stuff and preserve it for ship?
That I don't know. Drying it would take some effort, I think, because it's a very fleshy thing.
Yeah. How can you dry a succulent? It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
They don't shrivel up, That's the thing. I took an aloe vera from last summer, and I still have it going, and it's just sitting. The roots were chopped off. It's just sitting there, so it's still going.
That is interesting.
It's waiting for spring or something. I don't know.
Dan, that fact that insect was used for the dye for the redcoats, that is interesting. I've heard that before, and I'd love to hear that story. Now, here's some homework for you for next week, okay? Pseudotsuga menzizii, okay, the Douglas fir. It's not a fir. It was misnamed as a fir. I really would love to have the story, because I do tell the story of the fact that Menzies came along and says, no, it's not a fir. It's a false hemlock. It's its own genus, right? So I'd love that story, because Menzies was a botanist on one of the ships, and there was another guy that was a botanist, maybe Douglas. I'm not sure, but I'd like to know the story.
Menzies was on board with Captain Vancouver.
Menzies was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like two tomcats, facing each other.
Ah, okay. There you go. I'd love to hear that story. So you put that one together for us, and we'll hear from you next week.
I will do my best.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, take care.
Scrolling.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a great story. I do tell a bit of a lore about that Pseudotsuga menzizii, the Douglas fir, and why it was misnamed at first and all that. I may have it wrong, and I think if Dan Bruce does some research on it, we'll find out exactly the story behind that.
Yeah, well, it is, and just his talking about the Cochineal beetle or bug is an interesting program. I was just watching how they commercially produce it nowadays. and they still use the Opuntia prickly pear cactus. And because the cactus, like you say, if you cut it off and leave it, the cactus parts don't really know they're disconnected from the root because they're just self-sustaining. So they take these branches and they hang them upside down inside this like almost sterile environment, and they introduce the bugs into that environment, and they just multiply and multiply and multiply like crazy, and they set the temperature just perfect, and so they have this artificial production of this red dye from these bugs. I guess they just collect the bugs and crush them.
Does the bug have to die to get the dye?
Yeah, that's where the word dye came from, I think. But anyway, the whole concept there is that it's become a big industry in certain countries, and it's produced massively, and it's used in many things that we eat and drink. It's one of the key dyes that makes things red, and also still used for certain types of clothing and different types of. It's a fabulous dye, but it's also food coloring. So there you go. Interesting.
So it's a food color. So even if people get icked out to kind of the thought of eating insects, you're eating
We're
insects.
already eating them.
We're eating them anyway. Yeah,
read the fine print in the. That's right. Always read the ingredients list.
That's right.
But it's not like it's been done for hundreds of years.
That's right.
It's fine.
The red coats.
Yeah.
Who would have known? It's all about an insect. We're going to take another short break here. It's 8:45 coming up, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525, the local number here in Kelowna, and 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from Victoria or Penticton. We will be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Yeah, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. Boy, things are hopping in the garden, Ken. The rockery looks fabulous right now.
Yeah.
And like I say, but the only thing that isn't coming through, there's two things that I haven't seen poke up yet, and that is that little miniature hosta, and also my orchid. My native orchid is not pushing, at least I don't know exactly where it is. It's like hunt and find around.
And you never know. A lot of these plants, they come up based on temperatures that they receive, and sometimes they do get injured by the cold, but like part of the root system may freeze, like the upper part, but the lower part might still be intact, and it might rot a little bit, but it'll regenerate and start to grow again and shoot up a little bit later. So sometimes they're just delayed, and the plant can be a bit weak this year and hopefully get back on track next year. So plants do everything in slow motion. Nothing happens quickly. It's a period of years often to see plants grow, change, repair themselves, or whatever. It's a long road, and that's one thing I think sometimes sometimes people don't quite understand that. When they get it by a tree, and it's like, okay, well, I need a tree that's 25 feet high, and they buy this little tree and they plant it in, and then it's like, well, okay, when's it going to be 25 feet high? Well, not for 15 years or something. And so that's always a factor, I think, when it comes to picking plants, is not ultimately how big they get, but how fast they get
How soon
big.
they get there, yeah.
Yeah, if you need something that's going to be 25 feet high, but you want it right away or soon, you got to buy a fast-growing tree, something that'll get 100 feet high, and just enjoy it while it's short. But you really can't keep them down, and you just say, well, I won't be here anyway, so the next guys who move in will cut it down or whatever they want to do with
That's
it.
the stage of life I'm at now. When I was a youngster, in my 20s, starting out in the business, or even younger than that, we'd buy a tree, and I think, oh, man, it's going to take so long, but I'll wait for it because I'll be there. But now we haven't got the time. We've got Larry from Kelowna joining us. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Excellent. Thanks, Larry.
Good, thanks.
Good. Say, Don, I sent you a picture of them boxwoods of mine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether you got it or not.
Well, I saw the email, Larry, and I just didn't get a chance to have a look, but I'll look at it right now. Let's just see here.
They're pretty well shot from the cold.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what would be a good alternative that's, pretty hardy. Can take the drought, the cold, and all this before I dig them out and replant something.
Right. Ken's looking at those pictures right now, and of course he's well versed in boxwood demise because some are very, very tough, and some varieties are not so tough. And, of course, you got the Korean boxwood and we got the English boxwood. Those are two actual genus species, I should say.
And these still could be viable. What they need is a real severe rejuvenation, and that's done right now. So if you wanted to try to resurrect them, you could trim them back by about 80%, so an 80% reduction into just a ball at the base of the plant, and then give them a chance to rebound. They're a bit slow to rebound, but over a period of the next maybe 2 months or so, you might see them come back and actually come back all with healthy growth. So whatever's affecting those guys, like it's not from the cold actually, but it might be from other things. It can be a disease, or it can be, along a driveway. Sometimes you park a vehicle there and the exhaust hits the plants, and that kills plants pretty quickly as well.
They're along the sidewalk.
Yeah, I see that.
Leading into the house.
Yeah.
Right.
They're about 15, right around 15 years old.
Yeah, right. So and does this happen just this year?
No. It started in roughly around that last cold spell we had.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The first one that was pretty severe before this one.
Last year, the fall of 2002.
Yeah.
Or 22.
Or 22, yeah.
22.
23, yeah. Yeah, so the replacement of a plant, there really isn't anything that really replaces a boxwood that would be that great. But whereabouts are you located?
I'm over by the golf course in Kelowna.
In Kelowna, okay. So you've got a certain amount of deer population there too, right? I mean,
we sure do.
Yeah, and so boxwoods are deer resistant, so the deer don't eat them. So that's one of the reasons why they're an excellent plant to grow. They're quite drought tolerant, so they survive things. The only thing the other thing to consider is anything, if there was ever like salt or anything put on that sidewalk to melt ice or anything, that could be a major factor. Just because sodium is so toxic to boxwoods. But anyway, whatever it is causing them, I can see healthy growth on them. Yeah. So that's why that's the first thing I would do is I wouldn't waste my beautiful big root system underground. I would just chop off all the stuff that's on top and rejuvenate them right from the base. And they should come right back. Yeah. But, at least it's worth a try because boxwoods are great. Boxwoods are drought tolerant. Boxwoods are deer resistant. And if it grows back nice and healthy, you'll get your plants back. But it won't be like if you plant a new one, it'll take them 2 years to get established. These things have a huge root system that's ready to push. So.
Yeah. Larry, what I'd like you to do, and we've got to take another caller here before the break, but Larry, cut a good chunk off of one of them and bring it over to see me. Now, I'm not going to be there until I'll be back on Monday, Tuesday next week. So give me a shout. I'm in the book if you want. Still in the phone book. If you want to give me a shout. We can connect through your email. I'll give you my address and everything, and we'll get to have a look at those things and just to see how much viability there is. Okay.
Sure. Will do.
Okay, Larry. Take care.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks for calling.
You bet. And we are now going to the phone lines because we still have a couple of minutes here. We've got. Who do we have? We've got, do we have somebody waiting for us?
Yep,
yeah, we do.
We do. They're on the air.
And there we are. Lisa.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
So this time I'm not calling on behalf of the Garden Club. This time I'm calling on behalf of my Japanese silk maple, or silk lilac.
Oh, silk lilac, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
Reticulata.
Yeah, I've had this will be the third season for this tree, and it really did not fare well last year. It started to bud up in the spring, and then it kind of just quit. And over the course of the year, it had some leaves in the lower part of the structure and very little towards the top. So my plan was to dig it out this year, and lo and behold, did it not bud most of the way to the top this year.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, do I limp through a poor tree, or do I? And it sent up a lot of water shoots last year from the base.
Oh, you know what that says? that's having trouble on the top. Some issue is happening on the top, and so it's like somebody cut it off, and the suckers are coming up at the base.
Yeah, you have to see if it's on above the graft or not, because remember that they're grafted onto a different species of lilac, which is sometimes prone to suckering. So, or not, we call them suckers, but they're like suckers. Anyway, so if you can, what's that? Sorry,
I would say it's above the graft.
Oh yeah, okay. So then it's and that's more symptomatic, is what Don's saying, is that possibly that the cambium layer under the bark has been damaged by potentially maybe the cold. Hard to say. They're generally, well, the Japanese ones are not as hardy as the regular lilacs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You might have to just wait and see in a way, because they're like, if they did suffer some sort of frost injury, usually you would develop some sort of a split on the bark that's on the southwest side or southwest side of the tree. And so that's something you want to look for, and that might show up when the tree starts to grow this spring. It starts to put on some girth, and you might see a split show up. But one thing for vigor is to expose the surface roots at the base of the tree. So where it goes into the ground, we want to see the root flare up above the grade. So you want to dig down to the ground until the roots are exposed on the surface, and where you might see a little bit of a root flare, and leave it like that, maybe just a tiny bit of mulch, and that'll just eliminate the possibility of it being buried too deep and get extra oxygen into the root system.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I just looked up, and it's very hardy. The reticulata is zone 3, so yeah.
It's not japonica?
No, it's Syringa reticulata, the Japanese tree lilac. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it is quite hardy, so it's not the winter that's caused it, Lisa. We're going to have to take off here. We appreciate your call.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Good
Okay,
luck.
bye-bye now. Now, we do have another caller waiting here to get on, and it's April in Victoria, but we're right at the end of our segment here. We're going to have to take a break for the 9 o'clock news and whatnot. So we could say hello to April for a moment here, but we've got to take a break. April, thank you for calling, and I hope you can just hang on through the break.
Yeah.
April?
Good.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you've got to take a break.
Got to take a break, but just hang in there, girl, because we really want to talk to you.
No problem.
Okay, dear. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Yeah, so another 20 seconds here, and we got to take this break. Appreciate the calls, and we'd love to hear from some folks in Penticton, our new listening audience. We really appreciate you coming on board with us, and that's what we'll do. We're going to listen for that. We're going to listen for others from Victoria, and we're going to talk gardening, and that's what we do on the Garden Show every Saturday morning. So we're going to take that break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you, and so is April. And what a great caller have call us in April.
That's true, yes.
Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. I was away all winter and was worried when I heard that there was a great big cold snap. And so I came home, and things were in pretty good shape, except I had cut back a very old kind of climbing rose. It's probably a heritage rose. The house is 1948. I'm assuming it was planted in 1948.
Oh, wow.
And I had cut it right back to stumps last fall to do some painting in behind it. And it had buds because it was warm, and then the cold snap, and they're not looking good. I haven't seen any new growth, and I'm not sure whether what to do about it now.
I think you probably should be a little concerned if in Victoria you're not seeing new growth on that rose. But I would say wait a bit anyway, eh?
Yeah, you pretty much have to. The other factor is that a lot of roses, even in those days, were grafted. And so they're grafted onto a rootstock where the top of the rose, if it dies off, then the roots can sometimes continue to shoot up at a later date. But then, of course, they're just a wild rose. They're not the original variety. So So I think you're just going to have to wait it out and wait till you're into May before you make any major decisions. And even if it just shows a little shoot, as long as it's above the graft, it might take a while to come back, but it could come right back to its normal growth habit and variety and all that. So unfortunately, it's a waiting game. And like I was saying, plants don't do anything fast.
Yeah.
No, well, it was. It'll be a shame.
Yeah, April. It would be a shame, and so it is worth waiting to see. But there's a time for all plants to, become dust. But
well, I don't know. I've cut this one back to stumps before, 2 or 3 times over the last 30 years, and it's always come back. And so
did you cut it back this spring, or did you cut it back for some maintenance last year?
In the fall.
I wasn't
that concerned about it. Well, I think it was late summer. Late summer, really.
And did it start regrowing then?
No, I think sometime while I was away. So I was away from November, and I had 2 or 3, looking little shoots on it. Now they're just dead. So I wasn't sure if I should try and cut it back a little more.
No, just leave it. Wait and see. That's what we're going to suggest to you. Wait and see. Hopefully, we'll see some results there. But it doesn't really look too good right now. But hey, there's probably still some hope. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate the call.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was such an anomaly this winter, both in Victoria and in the Okanagan, where that frost came so suddenly and so severely, the drop in temperature after such a long, very warm winter.
Yeah.
Through December, it was just incredibly warm.
That has affected a lot of plants, but there are also other, disease organisms that exist, and there's always something else that could be the factor. But what we want to do is give plants their time to recover if they can, and hopefully, if all goes well, they come back. And again, it can take a year, 2, sometimes 3 years for them to get back on track. And you waited patiently on your laurel to get that thing to come back, because that was a special variety, which was always thought to be super hardy, but obviously not.
Then this year did it in.
Yeah,
like it was coming
winters.
back. It was coming back.
Yeah.
But that frost this year again did it in.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, and so I got excavator coming in to remove it, and it's going to have to take out my Japanese maple too. But that'll be more of a verticillium issue than frost, because they're pretty hardy.
Did you try the aspirin treatment on that one?
Well, I didn't even know it had an issue.
Oh, yeah.
It just.
But you've got verticillium showing up on your smoke bush that's nearby too, right? We were looking at that.
Yep.
So, it could be around there, eh? Gee.
Good old verticillium. But anyway, you know what that does for me? I dreamt about it last night. I thought, you know what it does? Renewal. Brand new day.
Yeah, you get
like
to
it was so much fun
re-landscape.
to replant. I'm trying to think of the replacement, though, because I can't put another Japanese maple in it if it was verticillium.
You can put in a conifer. How about a weeping hemlock?
Yeah.
Something similar in shape, and it might fill the
It would be
spot.
similar in shape and all that, but I would rather have some color of some sort. I just don't know.
It's green.
Green is a color. Okay.
I got you there.
Green is a color.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I get it. Hey, but you could put the little plastic red roses on it.
We could. Oh, that's. I was going to say tacky, but it's not. It's so beautiful to put plastic flowers on a
conifer.
On a conifer. Look we got to talk again and just remind folks in Victoria, in particular, about the Abkhazi Gardens spring plant sale. Saturday, April 27th, which is coming up fairly quickly, and Sunday, April 28th. So 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And their email to me was, lost some plants over the winter? We've got your replacements. Come and buy interesting plants, most grown at the gardens. Our head gardener, Jackie Paulson, will be on hand to answer your gardening questions. Then visit our garden in peak bloom and learn about the history of this exquisite heritage garden created by Prince Nicholas and Princess Peggy Abkhazi. Proceeds of the plant sale go to the maintenance of the heritage garden. So, take part in that. That's always good to support those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, we have some gardens in Kelowna, some heritage gardens, the Gushkin Heritage Garden. We also have the Japanese gardens in downtown. My mind has slipped. I've lost a couple of brain cells there, I think. Can't remember the name of that garden, but we'll remember it. It really doesn't matter, I guess. Anyway, we are going to. I'm actually asking Pam, one of our listeners, that phones in, and to do with hands in service, and she also is emailing me today about mason bees, and they're showing up in her garden. And so, but I want to know, Pam, if you're listening, did your Calicarpa come through? Because mine didn't. It's as dead as toast. And, I just wonder if that Calicarpa came through. So, give us a shout if you can. So there you are. 250-862-2525 to get through to us in the Kelowna area. 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling in from Victoria or our new listening audience in Penticton. We're sure glad to have you on board. And, hey, it looks pretty good. This morning it was 4 degrees in Kelowna. This morning, 6 degrees in Victoria. And it says 1 on the Weather Channel in Penticton. Highs of 20 in Kelowna, 16 in Victoria, and 20 in Penticton are predicted for today, which is getting kind of nice. You get up in the 20s. Yeah, you got some nice warm weather happening.
Yeah, the issue that we're having right now is with lawns. A lot of lawns are, especially here in the Okanagan anyway, they are often facing south or southwest and are fully exposed to the sun, and they are getting dry. A lot of irrigation systems are not started up yet because with any irrigation situation, it takes time to get them started, and we don't really run them full time at this time of year. They are always suggesting to wait until May before you really start watering with your automated systems. But what you can do is you can just set up a little oscillating sprinkler if you need to, just to get a little bit of water on the lawn, just to get it through this hot weekend. Maybe suggested in some areas if your lawn is suffering a little bit. But that's common. We also were talking about aerating and dethatching of lawns, that sort of thing, and that it's always often a good time to do it when the dust is flying. So when your lawn does dry out, that's not a bad time to get out and do those aeration and power raking, that sort of thing. So not a bad time to be looking at that.
Ken, with this water situation that we're having here, cutting back on the amount of lawn you have is a good idea, but that's a big job, and so that takes some time. What do you recommend to folks that, now it all depends on soil conditions and what you've got going on there too, but what do you recommend? Do you recommend a short sprinkling or long sprinklings, or just give it a little bit of insight into that?
Well, if you're going to water, you don't waste it, because that's the problem with light waterings, is light waterings don't penetrate the soil. So infiltration is what it's called, is when you put water on the soil and it infiltrates into the subsoil or into the ground, and that takes a period of time for that to happen, especially if the ground is very dry. So if you're applying little light waterings, that is just evaporating away and not soaking in. So at least here in the Okanagan, we do get a tremendous amount of evaporation. And so, it really doesn't count. So, in other words, those light waterings are literally close to 100% of wasted water. Heavier waterings, which takes more water, are more effective because they do get down deeper. And so then it starts to be protected, like when it gets down to 6 inches deep or so, then it's going to last. It's going to stay there for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It's going to be in the ground there like a reservoir. So there's advantages to watering, a little bit heavier. But that means when you water well. But well also means watering properly. And that is if it's very bone dry, like dusty dry, the water's not going to want to penetrate. So then when you apply that water, you have to apply it in a light application. Take a little break for a little bit, let it soak in, come back, apply another light application, give it a break again, like say half an hour to an hour between waterings, come out, do another light application. Now it's starting to get down into that 1 inch range. And once you can get into that surface, well, that's the starting of that reservoir. Now you can give it a regular watering and give it a nicer, longer duration, which will help to get it down into that subsoil a bit.
Ken, let's we got to take a short break here quickly, but we're going to talk about hydrophobic soil and kind of what to do in that regards for some kind of a surface, a surfactant, if there are anything available out there for that. We're going to take this break. We'll be back with The Garden Show after this short break. So when you have this dry peat moss, dry soil, and you sometimes need some kind of surfactant to get it wetter, making the water wetter and penetrate into the soil. Soap is what you can use, right? Dish soap?
Soaps are an interesting thing when it comes to plants because it can actually... It causes sort of an unusual reaction because a lot of plants on the outside are waterproof, and that's on purpose so they don't lose moisture from inside, and so you can distort or disrupt their natural abilities by spraying soap on them, which a lot of people do for pest control, and a little bit of this or that's not a bad thing, but you got to watch what other chemicals are in soaps, and so you do have to be cautious of that, and that's why usually when you're purchasing, insecticidal soaps, that sort of thing, are probably better just because they're designed for it, but they certainly do burn quite readily on a lot of plants. But when it comes to soils become hydrophobic or hygrophobic, just depending on which angle you come from, but they both have that. Those two words have a similar meaning. That the soil actually repels water. It's so dry, it won't take on water. So that's like you have a bowl of flour and you try to dump a bunch of water into it. There's no way those two things are going to mix, right? They repel each other. And so you get this water beading on top, and then the flour just sits there dry. So you have to get your hands in there and actually force the two things to join together. And this is a common thing in landscaping or in horticulture, especially in the Okanagan where we're in a semi-arid desert. In coastal climates, you may not see that as much because they have a higher humidity, so just the soil always stays a little bit moist. But here it becomes powder dry, and the deeper you dig, the drier it gets, which is also an unusual phenomenon. But this whole idea is that you try to apply water to dry soil, and it just runs off the surface or it evaporates away. So there's multiple light waterings to get the soil used to accepting the water prior to actually watering. So it's just it's a smart way to water. And it's also something that takes a little bit of attention. So sometimes, it seems weird, but you go out with your hose and do a little bit of watering just before your sprinklers go off in the evening. So you get a little bit of moisture starting into the soil prior to your irrigation running at night. And that can just be a little bit more effective. But that's only like when you have gone long periods of time without irrigation. So for us through the winter months, the Okanagan is quite dry through the winter, so the soils get drier and drier and drier through the winter. And our rainy months are just coming up. June is really our rainiest month of the year, so fingers crossed we get some rain. And hopefully it actually happens this time. Yeah. But, it's not looking good at the moment.
It was rough last year. But Ken... when we had the garden center years ago, we used to sell a surfactant. It was in a little plastic bottle, and it was just called a soil surfactant, and it would increase the surface, the tension or whatever, decrease the surface tension on with water, and it would make the water wetter. And I'm thinking, in the back of my mind, well, that kind of thing might be very, very advantageous to do. To use in this
beginning
drought,
of the season.
Both in Victoria, in Penticton, in Kelowna. We're all experiencing dry summers now, a lack of water. Yeah. And that might be an answer, surfactants. So I'm going to check in and see if they're still available.
There's new ones available. And there's all kinds of them. I know we get them through wholesalers, though, and through our irrigation wholesalers sell them. Okay. And they come in a bottle that is you hook onto your hose. So you get like either 1 liter or half-liter bottle, and you screw it on the end of your hose, and you just apply it. And they're used on golf courses actually quite readily, again, to help to get the water into the soil.
Yeah.
And it's super
useful.
Evaporate. Yeah, it's useful at these times when the soil is very dry.
One of you remember the black soil that comes in from Grinrod, that black peat?
Diamond, yeah.
Black diamond soil. Once in a while, you'll get a load of that's quite hydrophobic or hygrophobic.
Yep. And
that's where your surfactants come into play very nicely. It helps with getting the water into them. And so that's something we're going to think about. Surfactants, wetter water.
Yeah, there you go.
We've got Anna joining us from Kelowna. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
We are well. Thanks. Good to hear your voice.
Sounds like you're in a good mood with a nice sunny day.
Oh, yeah, it's that time of year.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. I was calling about my forsythia tree. Mm-hmm. Last year and this year, now I notice it's doing the same thing. It just doesn't look like the leaves are coming out properly, and it's bumpy along the bark of the branches. And when they're very distorted looking, the blooms, when they come out. Now, I notice there's new growth coming from the bottom that looks normal.
Yep.
Just some of the new growth there on the bottom looks good. But the rest of it just doesn't look normal. And I was wondering if you might know what that might be the cause of, or what would be the cause of that.
Well, it's definitely frost-related or cold-related.
Oh, okay.
And so I've noticed that on a lot of forsythias around. And here's the clue, right, is that I see this beautiful forsythia shrub, and it's starting to get some new growth, but no blooms, or hardly any blooms. And the blooms are distorted and ugly. But on the ground, there's 4 or 5 branches that were buried under the snow, and they're all blooming.
Okay,
so,
I guess
so
that's
the ones,
what happened to mine.
The ones under the snow were protected and they're fine, but everything above ground has been frozen due to the cold, and it causes damage to the stems a little bit, which should recover. And also those buds, the first buds that open, the flowers are distorted; they've been frozen. Like I've got some that are just not blooming at all, and they are, but the buds are starting to open up. The leaves do look a little crinkly, not quite as good as what you'd normally see, but they should totally recover, and then next year go back to normal, again, providing we don't get these severe winters.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. The other question I have, I believe they're called allium flowers, the bulbs that come up, and they're a spring bulb, and they have the purpley looking fluffy ball on top when they bloom.
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them on the side of my house, which they don't do as well. They should have a little more sun, I think. And they are really well established. They've been there about 3 or 4 years now. But I'd like to move them to the front where they'll be showier. Would it hurt them at this time of year, or should I wait now till next year?
I would just wait until they start losing their leaves. Just like a tulip bulb or something, they'll shoot up and they'll put their foliage out and they'll bloom, and then the foliage slowly dies off in May. And then by June, as soon as that foliage is pretty much died off, you can dig it up and move it. And it gives you that opportunity to see what you've got for bulbs. Some are quite large, and those can be relocated, and you can lay them out in a new display. Okay. And remember that they're a fairly wide bulb often, so you can go typically a little more than 6 inches deep, maybe 8 or 10 inches deep. But also remember this about those alliums, especially the globe ones, is that they're not super drought tolerant. They love moisture. And so when we do see them growing in shadier spots, they often do a little better, at least here in the Okanagan. Because, but moving them into the sun is fine as long as the soil is reasonably loamy, like decent soil, and as long as they have some sort of water supply when they're shooting up.
Okay.
As soon as they go dormant, you don't have to water them at all.
Worry about them, yeah. Okay, and a question for Don is he selling the Bellamundo tomato plants this year?
Yeah, Bellamonte. I am growing some Bellamonte, so I'll have a few plants available. Give me a shout at home on my landline or on my cell phone. You can find that on my website, thegardenexpert.com. You can get the phone numbers there.
Okay.
And give me a call, and we'll line something up for you.
All right.
Okay,
Sounds excellent.
Okay, but take care. Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
for calling.
Now, we've got to take a short break here. We do have Linda calling in, and we appreciate your call, Linda. We're going to have to take this break at the bottom of the hour, but we do want to talk to you when we come back after this short break. Okay, we've got a full switchboard here. We've got to get going on our callers. And Linda, you've been so patient from West Kelowna. We welcome you to the show.
Thank you. I have two quick questions. One is I have a couple of fruit trees that I haven't pruned yet. Is it still safe to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can do them right now. It's fine. Even when they're blooming or have leaves, it's still okay to prune them. It's just that normally what happens is once they start to flower and whatnot, then when the act of pruning actually knocks a lot of the blooms off. And that's one of the things. And usually you get stung by bees. Well, hopefully you get stung by bees if there's any bees around. That'd be great.
And Linda, summer pruning has a controlling dwarfing effect on a fruit tree. Spring pruning or dormant pruning has an encouraging effect. It encourages new growth. So if you want to keep your tree a little... Yeah, summer pruning, the farmers are doing way more summer pruning now than they used to do, and that's kind of holding the tree back. And it does promote the following year's blossom if you prune in July a little bit. Prune them back in July.
Okay, well, my trees are old enough that I don't mind discouraging new growth.
Yeah.
So
yes, you could do a little bit now and a little bit later.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Linda, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
The other question is I've cut down a nuisance tree, and now it's popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
What can I do to kill the roots? When I cut one of the suckers, the ones that pop up, if I cut them off and drill a hole in the little stump, what can I put in to kill it?
Well, you can use glyphosate, the Roundup product. You can not only just drill a hole, but the idea is scrape the bark a little bit and paint underneath the cambium. Is this a
elm?
Yeah, a tree of heaven.
Tree of heaven.
No, it's not. It's I can't remember the name of it right now. It was
an elm,
it was
Chinese
a lovely
elm.
Tree.
No.
No, can't think.
But
of
it
the name
suckers.
Of it.
It doesn't just spread by seed.
It was fine until I cut the tree down, and now it suckers everywhere.
Yeah, it might be a poplar variety of poplar or something like that. Yeah, if you scrape the bark, and if you would rather not use that product, you can phone a professional spray company, and they'll come and look after it for you.
Okay. I think it's a tomac tree. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, dear. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.
And now we have Linda from Victoria. Good morning, Linda.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
My first time calling in.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yes. I have just had a look at some of my bushes in the garden, and the one Escalonia called is looking very, very sad.
Ooh.
And I cut some of the dead parts off. Would it be a result of this heavy frost?
Quite possibly. It's not something we grow here. It's not hardy enough to grow here in the Okanagan. So it quite possibly is. Maybe, Ken, you could just quickly look at the zone on that Escalonia.
We know the Escalonias. So it can be the cold that's often a factor. And again, it's not always how cold it gets, but how it gets cold. So meaning it's very warm and all of a sudden you get hit by this cold snap. And that can cause some problems. But for you, what you're going to look for is you're going to look for some new growth coming sort of from the base.
All right.
And if you're getting this beautiful, healthy new growth coming up, shooting from the base, well, then that's a real positive sign. And then that would indicate that the damage you'd see on the branches is cold related. It's related to the frost. If you don't get any of these new growth from the base, and the thing just kind of is dwindling along, not looking great, and the leaves are showing blotches or spots or blackening, then you need to do further research to see if that is a disease that's affecting that plant.
Oh, all right.
So then what you would do is, and you're welcome to send us emails. Like what you do is you would take a little bit of a close-up picture of the leafage and just email it to us. I think that we advertise our email addresses there at each break. Mm-hmm. So ken@growercoach.com. And then we look at it, and what we do is we just do a species-specific sort of analysis to see if it is a disease organism or something else that's causing the problem. But like I say, if you go out there in the next, say, month and you start to see this beautiful new shoots coming up from the bottom, then it's sort of a positive sign, meaning that the roots are okay and the top is potentially suffering some damage.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Dear, thanks. Great. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. And Addie is joining us. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
I have about 15 quick questions, but I'll only ask a few. Yeah. My avocado plant is still in the house. But anyway, it's about 15 inches high now, and it's got about 6 or 7 big leaves. Can I pinch the little leaf that's coming out at the top so that it will promote the growth at the bottom?
Good idea to do that, yes.
Just the one leaf, or can I take, because it's, I can actually stand and watch it grow, believe it or not.
Well, take the growing tip out, maybe, down to, take about 1.5 inches, 2 inches off.
Okay, so that one comes off.
And then they'll push from the bud, from the branch. How many leaves do you have on the side of that long, skinny stem?
I have, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, okay. So if you took the top 1.5 inches off of that thing, that will cause those at every leaf joint there. It'll cause that to push.
Yeah, so he means pinching out the main stem completely. So severing off the tip, the growing tip.
Oh, the whole thing, not just a little pointy thing that's sticking out. The whole, like there's 3 leaves on it.
Yeah.
Pinch it out, and then that will cause like he was saying, the lateral growth on those wherever there's a leaf attached will send out some shoots.
And if you don't do that, Addie, you're going to have this tall, spindly, tall plant. You want to bush it out, so you should take the tip out. You take that growing tip out about 1.5 inches.
Okay, perfect. Okay, moving on. Yep. Sunflowers. I've been putting my sunflower plants out at the same time as my tomatoes have been going out, but I've been bringing them to the house. Yep. Can the sunflowers stay outside now for the night or not?
Not yet, Addie. They do love the heat, and if they get chilled, it's going to stall them. And what it might do is cause them to bloom too early, so that later on you're not going to have that nice large blossom. You want to make sure they stay warm at night. Probably, like Ken says, up into that 24th of May time before they stay out all the time. However, watching the weather like a hawk, and if it's 10 to 12 degrees at night on a regular basis, you could put them out.
Okay. So the cherry tomatoes, transplanting them into bigger pots. Mine, like I've got little tomato plants, little tomatoes and stuff. Is it going to stall them if I transplant them because they're outgrowing the little pots that I've got?
No, it's good for them. Yeah, put them into a larger pot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and bake them. It did a cherry tomato one. Last question: yellow tulips. Is it true that the deer don't like yellow tulips?
I don't know.
No, that's not true.
Okay, so keep on putting on the deer repellent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What I do is until when I see the bud coming up and it's like a green bud, I want to get a little tiny spritz of the deer repellent right on that bud. And then I stop, because then with that bud, as it opens up and blooms, it still has a little bit of that rank odor on it, so the deer won't eat it. If you're going to be bringing them inside as cut flowers, you want to avoid the deer repellent. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm not bringing them inside. I'd leave them outside. But even, you're saying just to spritz the bud, so you don't spritz the area around. What I used to do is spritz the area around as well.
Well, you have to do the plant as it's coming up, or else the deer will nibble that off as well. So.
Oh, okay. Mine have opened up already, so I guess I can't spritz it anymore.
Yeah, once they open, it's kind of hard. Yeah,
Addie, we got to move on. We got a full switchboard here.
Thanks, guys. The other 50 questions are for next week.
Thank you, dear.
Have a
yeah, okay.
guys.
Thanks,
you betcha.
Addie.
And folks, I'm
Bye-bye.
just gonna mention we love hearing from you. Try and phone in a little earlier so we got some time because we're getting down towards the short strokes here. But we do love to hear from you. And we've got Bruce calling in. Good morning, Bruce.
Yes, good morning. I just want to share a little tip that I do for my grass, and it's worked for me for probably the past 25 years. My last cut in the fall, say October or something like that, I shave my grass really, really short, like right down to about an inch.
Nice.
And then I give it some winterizer fertilizer. And then in the spring, when all my neighbors are out there power raking and digging up all their dead thatched grass, I'm just sitting there watching my green grass grow up completely green, absolutely fine, no power raking. And I've got the greenest lawn in the subdivision. And right now, my grass is about 3-4 inches long, dark green, and all my neighbors are all
jealous.
Bruce, I hope your neighbors are listening, so they'll be just drooling and angry at you. It depends on soil conditions too, Bruce. But that's good advice. Good advice, as long as the soil conditions are conducive to that. But when people have heavy clay, that dethatching is often necessary because it's not a matter of dead grass that you're taking out. It's actually a layer of thatch, and so you're just fortunate you don't get that issue. But Bruce, that's good advice. We appreciate it.
It seemed to work. Thanks.
It's working for you.
Works great.
Don't stop doing it.
Good plan.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay.
That also reduces diseases as well. So that's a great
That's
thing.
right.
Winter disease.
Yeah, and it reduces the disease. Yeah, Bruce is on the right track. Doreen, give us a shout. Or not give us a shout. You are giving us a shout. Good morning.
Good morning. I have two questions. I'm calling from Victoria, and I've noticed that these Nandina domestica, Moyer's red plants, I think they're like a heavenly bamboo or something.
Yep.
I noticed that part of them have, went brown, a couple of stems, and I've noticed that in several areas in Victoria, but I have one in my yard. What do I do with that?
Those stems, you just snip them out.
Okay.
Just because they did suffer a little snap. It's a little cold for them this last winter, and again, that's caused some damage. And that's one of the signs sometimes that it would be called mild winter damage, where you get a stem here and a stem there that die. And let them keep leafing out a bit to make sure those are alive. And if you follow it down to the ground and just maybe you start to see some new shoots down low, then you can snip just above those and let those shoot up. But it's a lovely little shrub. I really like them.
Yeah. I guess the winter was not so good. And the other question, a couple of weeks ago, you had a gentleman call in and talk about potting soil. Well, I like to have tomato plants in pots, and I like to plant greens, the lettuce. Now, the soil I used was Pro Mix, organic for veggie and herbs.
Nice.
Now, you have to go every year, because they do have these fertilizer in it that say the last for 3 months or something. You have to empty part of the pot, and then are you able to put that into the ground? Because it's really not soil, right?
Yeah, it's not that great in the ground. It's predominantly peat moss, so it can be. I wouldn't throw it. I always keep my soil from year to year, and especially now we're getting into shortage of peat moss, so I want to recycle it as much as possible. And really, the fertilizer doesn't last very long. I know they say 3 months, but it doesn't really last. Remember that potted plants need a lot of food. They need regular feeding. So even with that, I would be feeding as well, and especially if it's older soil. It needs to be replenished, the food supply. So what I would do is I just remove the upper surface a little bit and put it in the bottom of my neighboring pot that I'm just about to fill, and then I just top it up with about 4 inches of fresh potting soil, and I'd add some slow-release fertilizer in there if I like, and and then I just get on a regular fertilizing program at least about twice a week through the summer.
Okay, so when you say slow-release fertilizer, is there a special one you'd use for vegetables?
Well, it says on the label hanging baskets and planters.
Oh,
and that's the one you use because it's slow releasing and it's like a little bead. But even with that, you still feed with regular fertilizer as well. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate the call.
Good luck.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
We've got Linda from West Kelowna waiting for us after the break here, but we do have to take a short break, and we will be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, keeping an eye on the golf scores in between the breaks here. Anyway, I love listening to the Masters. We've got Linda from West Kelowna calling in. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
Morning.
I dug up a rhubarb plant, and I am concerned if age or a bad fungus is decaying the roots and the root ball.
Mm-hmm.
The rhubarb plant is over 15 years old. Mm-hmm. It was left in the plastic pot for over 10 years in surrounding old wood chips.
Mm-hmm.
So the top of the rhubarb plant shows no sign of any issues now or last year. Mm-hmm. So I just cut off the soft parts of the root ball, and I would like to know if it's bad fungus on the roots and root ball, or if it's just age.
Well, one thing about rhubarb, they've got a funny root. I mean, it's kind of mushy anyway. Mm-hmm. I've just dug ours up because it was in a shade and we had to put it into the sunnier spot. Linda, if the top is looking good, I wouldn't really worry that much about it, Ken?
Yeah, nothing. There shouldn't be anything to worry about there. To give you an example, one time I had to pot up about 2,500 rhubarb plants, and so we had all these roots, like just big clumps of roots, and we had to break them all apart into chunks to get them into these pots, and they were all seemed like they were all rotted inside, like the main inside. I think that's sort of typical of the plant, is that they rot off on the inside, mm-hmm. and the outer portions of the plant still have viable shoots and buds. And I think they're constantly dying back mm-hmm. on the inside and growing on the outside, sort of the same as other types of perennials and grasses. They always die out on the inside,
mm-hmm.
you know? And then so the inside can be completely dead, but the outside be quite happy and mm-hmm. viable. So yeah, you can definitely, if you want to relocate it, dig it up, transplant it, divide it, whatever, as long as you're taking those little buds and the mm-hmm. pieces that are shooting, then you're fine and good to go. And I wouldn't really worry about that.
Yeah, and Linda, it's sometimes by doing that, exactly what Ken's saying is and Ken's used this before too, you excite the plant.
By dividing it, yeah, and relocating it.
You get the plant excited, and then, there you go.
Well, I did have to cut the rhubarb plant to divide it mm-hmm. because it was just a massive ball.
Right.
So I wasn't able to pull the roots apart.
No. Well, it's an interesting root. There's no question about it. Linda, we're going to have to leave you because we've got one more caller before the end of the show here. But we do appreciate hearing from you, and good luck on your rhubarb.
Thank you.
Okay, dear.
Thanks for calling. Yep.
Bye-bye. Now we're going to go Scott from Victoria. Hi, Scott.
Yeah, very quickly, I'd just like to ask, what product can you use to do away with vegetation? Be it anything and everything down the side of my driveways, down the side of a garage, stuff like that. I just don't want anything to grow there anymore.
Yeah, it's difficult. In the old days, there was tons of different products you could use. Now there is not all that much. So what you need to do is go to your local garden center and see what is available, because it's different community to community what they allow you to use and what you're allowed to use, what you're not allowed to use, and so you follow their guideline and just keep that in mind. I would talk to somebody who's very experienced. Is usually the way to go. And then other than that, you can call professional companies that can come in and give you guidance on that as well. So that's definitely the way to go these days. It's not as easy as it used to be.
No, and there used to be soil sterilants, Hybrid E, and various other boron products and whatnot out there to sterilize soil. Then, of course, there still is glyphosate, the Roundup, which you can use effectively. You can still buy that. But as Ken said, one of the best things to do nowadays is really to get a professional spray companies, professionals in, and have them look at it and say, what can you do for me here? And see if you can have it done that way, because that way it's done legitimately, and you probably have success.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, point well taken. I appreciate all the information you pass on to the listening audience.
Well, we appreciate your call. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for phoning.
Okay.
Thank you very kindly. Have a good day, Tom.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Scott. That was Scott. And that was our last caller of the day. We've got a couple of minutes left here. I just want to mention again the Abkhazi garden plant sale coming up on April 27th, which is coming up. We also have the plant sale at Gushikin Gardens, which is the garden club plant sale, and that's happening on May the 4th, another 2 or 3 weeks here.
May 4th.
And those are great things to take part in because you get some deals, you get some plants generally are from gardeners and that really enjoy their plants, and most often they don't want to give you something that they don't like. Mm-hmm. There might be some bad people out there that say, you know what, I want to get rid of this plant. I think I'll donate it to the garden. No, I don't think that happens very often.
No, but it is an opportunity to get something that could be special.
That's right.
Because that's the thing is that in garden centers, nothing against garden centers, but they do typically buy and sell things that are popular. Mm-hmm. And not everything is popular. Some things are beautiful and they're great to have, but you just don't find them commonly in garden centers. So you have to get them from your local garden club.
Like the cardamine pentaphylos.
Yes, that is an example. Yeah, that was your plant of the week, and it is. What a beauty and very interesting plant. That's for sure. I'd love to get a chunk.
Well, Penticton, we didn't hear from you today, but hopefully you're out there. We really appreciate you coming on board with us, and we will definitely be inviting your calls again next week. We're going to get through the spring gardening season here, and we're going to have Scott Austin on, actually, in the next little while here. I forget the date that we got him coming on, but we do have Scott coming in to join us for a day, or for a morning, on our show here in Kelowna. The weather is great. The timing is great. You can go out and take an appraisal of what you've lost over the winter because of those that cold snap, which is quite typical of gardens right now. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, think positive. I've got a few dead things, and I'm really, I'm having services for them as we go through the season because I hate to see things die. However, it's just a plant. So there you go. We're going to take our tips and plants of the week. Well, my tip of the week is some quick advice on water conservation. If you have an automatic water system, then have a professional company come in and do an audit, especially if it's been there for a number of years. Do an audit, see if there's any leaks, see if there's any problems, and then you can be sure to have it operating efficiently. Also, have some areas of the property using the Xeriscape principles to conserve water. So some of the areas don't even need water or very little water. Mm-hmm. My plant of the week, as I said before, is the cardamine pentaphyla, the showy toothwort. And that's my tips and plants.
Very nice. I also have tip and plant. My tip of the week is that leaves are coming on the trees, and it's an opportunity to see what's alive and what's dead, so you can cut out some of the dead wood out of plants, trees specifically, but shrubs as well. And so all you have to do is just double check with a quick little scratch test on the bark. If it's green underneath and moist, that means it's alive and fine. If it's just brown and dry, you can cut it out. So that's a quick test. All right, my plant of the week this week was the magnolia group, and there's so many different beautiful magnolias blooming all over the place here in the Okanagan. They're very popular because they do survive in our alkaline soils quite nicely, and they're just a beautiful tree. There you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Thank you, Ken. And for those folks in Penticton, we have a quote every week from our good friend, our past friend, Dr. Shigo, father of modern arboriculture. He's now passed away, but Ken and I had the honor to hear him speak. This is his quote this week. Why arsenic and old lace? Because arsenic is an analog for phosphorus. When arsenic bumps phosphorus in ATP, the cash flow stops. Death. Ooh. Now, you have to really figure that one out. That's quite puzzling, but it works.
That's botany for you.
We're going to say goodbye to you this week. We'll see you again next week with more of The Garden Show.